It's been 5 months since my previous solo run, and now I have returned with the promised Coalossal Solo Run that was randomized at the end of the video. So to no one's surprise, this is going to be a Sword and Shield solo run, as I cannot do any Scarlet Violet ones until it becomes more optimized on emulators. I will be trying to get a solo run video out once every month, but I don't know how well I can keep that up. I will do my best though. As for Sword and Shield, I decided to choose Sword, which might come as a surprise to some. The main difference between the two games is the two gym leaders. In Sword, you have to fight against Bea and Gordy, the fighting and rock type gym leaders, while in Shield, it's Alistair and Melody, who are ghost and ice type gym leaders. Some may wonder why I chose the version that has specifically two gym leaders that hit me super effectively, and the reason is because Melody's ace is a Lapras, which could be insanely hard to deal with since I have a weak special defense and 4 times weakness to water. Alistair also gave me trauma last time I fought him due to Ursula's way of using Curse and permanently dealing 25% of my health each turn, even when it's dead. While Bea and Gordy have a type advantage, I believed I could deal with that without much issue using my insane bulk. Now before we get into the actual run, let's take a look at Coalossal. So Coalossal's stats make it an insanely nice tank, but the problem is that it's very much hindered by the typing Rock Fire that gives it a 4 times weakness to both water and ground. Not only that, but we still take 2 times damage from fighting and rock as well. Having 110 base HP, 120 base defense, and 90 base special defense is pretty insane, but still heavily nerfed by the typing. The base 30 speed is also what makes this run so much more painful, because that means we would not be outspeeding most Pokemon we face, especially the ones that can deal 4 times super effective moves on us. 80 base attack and special attack isn't too bad, but from time to time it still makes for slow battles. Cole also has 3 abilities, with Flash Fire being completely useless. However, the other 2 both have their advantages, which create a dilemma for me. Steam Engine is an ability that boosts its speed, the Pokemon speed, by 6 stages if the Pokemon takes damage from a water type attack. This could allow Coalossal to outspeed every single Pokemon as long as it survives one water type attack. However, in the end, I decided to not pick this ability because it barely has practical usage in a game where only a couple of Pokemon will have a water type move, and assuming that I can even live the attack, being faster doesn't necessarily make things easier, especially since I don't have that much firepower to just one-shot everything. Coalossal's move pool makes for an interesting discussion as well, since it directed how this entire run ran. Looking at the level up moves, I will say this looked horrendous. We have base 60 and below stat moves up until level 45 when we get Heat Crash. The fact we do not get any other moves as well makes for some really painful fights, which is why I say the base 80 attack wasn't that useful. We do get Burn Up at 63, which would have been much more useful had we gotten it earlier, since 63 is champion fight level. Therefore, we never actually get a chance to use the move that gets rid of us of 4 times weaknesses. However, this game also has TMs and TRs, which can be very helpful to get me some amazing moves. TRs from Raids and Watt Traders can get me moves like Flamethrower and Scald. However, I'll explain later in the video why I was unable to use any TRs. Therefore, all we could depend on were TMs, which had some useful ones. Some easily obtainable ones were Dig, Will-O-Wisp, Rock Tomb, and Sand Tomb. Will-O-Wisp was a huge one because the ability Flame Body gives a 30% chance to burn on contact, but that wasn't something I wanted to completely depend on to cripple physical opponents. Dig also had some pretty unique and helpful usages into the run that you'll see when we get there. The weather TMs like Sandstorm or Sunny Day was something I planned to use in this run because Sandstorm would be helpful since Burn cannot lower special attack. However, Rock types gain a 1.5 times special defense bonus in the Sand, so being able to manually set up Sand or use a Dynamax move could help gain additional bulk, making me the ultimate tank. However, my hopes were shattered with Sunny Day, since apparently Coalossal did not learn it, so my plan to weaken water moves went to waste. I would have gotten Solar Beam and Fire Punch if I knew where they were, but I was too lazy to actually look it up, so those will not be getting used. Just like my previous run, I will be using X items, however this time I have a different rule. And that's it. And the rule is that I will not be allowed to use X items on the first fight, only if I have lost once to that trainer. One more thing, this is a timed run, but it doesn't mean I'm speedrunning it. I'm simply just playing through it fast, so I did not turn off animations, and I even also had the shiny Coalossal because it was funny. The previous Sword and Shield run I did was with Dracozolt, which seems like an easier Pokemon to solo run with. Time to beat is 13 hours, 8 minutes, and 57 seconds, so find out to the end whether the Coalossal Solo Run did better or not. And so our run begins with luring the shiny Coalossal, and I'm giving it a plus special defense nature minus speed nature due to the fact we want Coalossal to make up a bit for lower special defense. Our speed stat is the least important one, so it's fine to let that be lower. With the ability Flame Body, our starting moves are Flame Charge, Tar Shot, Smackdown, and Rapid Spin, which is not bad for a start. In the early game, there isn't much we need to worry about since we aren't fully evolved. However, as a whole, running into wild Pokemon does get pretty annoying when I get outsped by most Pokemon. After blazing through an incredibly long intro sequence, we make our way to Milo, the first and easiest gym. Unsurprisingly, the Grass-type gym was no match for Big Cold Girl, and we beat it at 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 40 seconds, which is right under 2 hours. However, this is less than a minute slower than a Dracozolt solo run, so right off the bat we were going at a slower pace. This is a result of Coalossal always having to go second and me making a few mistakes with the story. Now, a section everyone is probably most curious about, Nessa's gym. So before we even get to Nessa, I want to talk about the gym challenge. The gym trainers Mons did not deal too much damage to me despite being 4 times super effective. However, with most challenges, we have to worry about PP usage. I thought Coalossal would have been stronger at the start, but Smackdown, its strongest move with Stab, took 3 hits to defeat each Pokemon. And I only had 15 Smackdowns and 5 Ancient Powers, so it felt very scarce. Luckily, I managed to get through the gym challenge with 8 Smackdowns left, so it was doable. My strategy for fighting Nessa was to build up Flame Charges on the first 2 mons to get my speed to max and outspeed a Dreadnought. And then when Dreadnought comes out, I would stall out 2 turns of Dynamax and try to set up Sun so that I could live 1 Dynamax move and hopefully get a Flame Body on him after the Dynamax is over. Goldeen's strongest water move, Water Pulse, didn't have the damage to 2-shot me, so we were fine even with Whirlpool damage. Arrokuda uses Aqua Jet a lot, but which was beneficial to us as it meant that we could easily burn the fish. The battle was very slow, but after defeating the first 2 mons, it was time to test the waters against Dreadnought. I did make a mistake in beating the Arrokuda when I wasn't that healthy, so I was going into the fight with around 60% health, and unsurprisingly the Dynamax Dreadnought one-shot me. So attempt 2 time with X items this time. I knew from the start that this was easily winnable with X items due to how little damage the first 2 mons were dealing. So I used both of my boosted both of my defenses to +4, and suddenly I was unkillable even with the occasional crits. With this, even Dreadnought could not deal more than half of my health even in Dynamax form. This time I also made sure I was slower than Dreadnought so I could set up the Sand after it set up the Rain. By doing this, I get rid of the Rain and boost my special defenses again. And with that, we had defeated Nessa, one of the anticipated most challenging fights at 2 hours 50 minutes and 13 seconds, which is around 13 minutes slower than Dracozolt. After this fight, I figured the gap would just keep getting wider and wider, but whether that actually happened will depend on my skills and luck going forward. I didn't mention the first beat fight, nor will I really talk about him in this run because unlike the Dracozolt run, Bead was much easier for Coalossal and there were never any huge threats. This Pokemon do get some strong moves early on which can make for some difficulty only if I was using a Frail Mon, but Coalossal is too bulky. Morny was also not much of an issue either despite 2 fighting types because Flame Body was just too powerful. We make our way to Kabu, And you might think this is going to be another gym not worth talking about, but this gym challenge has consistently been the most annoying one of all gyms when I do solo runs. In Nuzlocke, it's less of a problem because you get 2 points for catching a Pokemon and you have a bunch of other mons to help score the other 3 points from killing the wild Pokemon 3 times. Once again, I struggled with PP balancing, and also I made the mistake of teaching Incinerate over Ancient Power right before the gym. Each Pokemon in this gym challenge had its annoyances. Sizzlipede can be an easy one-shot kill, but Salandite would fake out me, then turn 1 spam, or it would fake out me turn 1, and then spam Smokescreen, making me miss my moves, while the Sizzlipede would set up coils so that I wouldn't be able to one-shot it. Now the other 2 Pokemon, Litwick and Vulpix, were Pokemon that I could not one-shot, and the gym trainer mons could easily sabotage me by killing the Pokemon before me and denying me the point. They each had moves that could hit the gym Pokemon super effectively, so it was really hard trying to ensure that I was the one that scored the kill without using all my PP. I ended up actually teaching Sandtomb during using a TM during this gym as a way to help me get through gym trainers and Kabu. And with that, it was actually time for Kabu. We started things off with the classic 85% accurate Sandtomb miss twice. However, that didn't matter because nothing on Kabu's team did any damage to me. So with some slow killing, we were able to get to Gigantamax Centiscorch, which was able to live one of our Dynamax rock moves due to Arcanine's Intimidate. I would also like to point out that when I was streaming, I predicted during this fight that the entire Coalossal run would take 15 to 16 hours, so just keep that in mind for the end result. But anyways, Kabu is down, and that makes the first 3 gyms down at 3 hours, 15 minutes, and 42 seconds, which is around 11 minutes behind Dracozolt. This also means that between Nessa and Kabu, we did save 2 minutes, which was cool. So before we went to Hammerlock, I was on the lookout for some raids to try and get some useful TRs, even if it meant we would lose time. However, after getting Waterfall twice and checking out the new wild area, I realized there weren't any raids in the second area. And since I was playing on Yuzu, that meant there weren't time cycles and there would be no resets. Therefore, any hope of me using the amazing TRs was gone. All gone. On Route 6, I got the Dig TM, and I mentioned it just because it'll become a very useful TM later on. After that, we make our way to Stowe on Side Town, where we once again fight Hop, and I only mentioned this fight, not the previous ones, because this time he has a Crimorant. It starts off with a dive that actually deals over half my health, but luckily since this is after Kabu, I now have Will-O-Wisp to land a burn. But funny enough, Crimorant went down quite easily and a silly Cobra followed. I didn't even manage to get a burn on it since I missed, but I assumed it didn't have a ground move since it didn't use it early on. However, I was wrong and it took a huge chunk of damage, but Coalossal's tankiness absorbed it. With Hop down, we make our way to Bea's gym challenge. The gym challenge wasn't too bad. The fighting types hurt, but all of them had physical moves and could easily get burned. But with that out of the way, it's time for a showdown with Bea. She leads off with Hitmontop, which usually goes for counter first, which also gives me the easiest Will-O-Wisp of my life. Bea's whole team has the move Revenge, which should not be a problem for me who's slower than everyone. However, I do make the mistake through this battle of using Flame Charge. I also believe Revenge has negative priority, so actually the speed didn't even matter. Pangoro and Surfetch were not huge problems, as I could just slowly kill it. Machamp was a huge issue though. The main problem is that I cannot burn it because it has the Guts ability that gives it an attack boost when it's status. And it also ignores the burn damage nerf. And it's not like I could just not click Will-O-Wisp because my ability would eventually burn it. And the other problem is that Gigantamax, Machamp's move, gives it a focus energy boost, which just made me realize that if I tried this battle with X items, there's a chance I could still struggle. Anyway, after the Dynamax was over, I played a little too boldly because I noticed the Machamp was spamming Scary Faces since I had all the speed buffs. With the crit Revenge, it was time for attempt 2. With my own Revenge. This time, I not only needed to boost my defenses, but also my offensive stats, so that I could kill Machamp quickly. The longer I let it stay on the field, the higher chance it has to crit me through my defenses. So with the power of X items, we were able to 2-shot Gigantamax Machamp, and with that, we beat Bea at 4 hours, 59 minutes, and 39 seconds, which is right under 5 hours by 21 seconds. And by some random miracle, this is actually 54 seconds faster than Dracozolt, which means we somehow caught up on the 11-minute difference and are now on the faster pace. So the Bede fight after this gym is probably when Bede is most challenging from my experience. I gave Dracozolt a hard time, and this run was scary against Coalossal too, which got the Raider using fake tiers to harshly lower my special defenses, and in general his team was dealing big damage. But luckily that damage was never actually enough to deal half or more to me, so it was an easier fight and faster than Dracozolt. But anyway, with that out of the way, we speed our way to Opal, which is going to be way easier for Coalossal since type advantage, and also since Opal has always been one of the easiest gym leaders in this game, with the easy questions to give stat boosts and her Pokemon's weak moves. Like your Galarian Weezing's moveset consists of Fairy Wind, Tackle, and Sludge. Like that's it. No fourth move. So after a really slow way through the back-to-back gym trainers, we can finally fight Opal herself. Opal initially gives you a speed boost after the first question, then attack and defense boost later into the fight, which means we got our artificial X items without needing a turn to use it. So without much effort, we sweep through Opal at 5 hours, 30 minutes, and 39 seconds, which puts us 36 minutes and 46 seconds faster than Dracozolt. So from now on, I'm going to keep the time difference a secret so we can see how big the difference is at the very end. So after beating Opal, we get sent back to Hammerlock, which I wanted to use as a moment to get some raid dens. And this was where I sadly learned that there was not a single raid den at all. So with my hopes in the hole, I proceeded my way to Sirchester Town without much issue, and it was time for Gordy's gym. The gym challenge itself was just annoying, but the trainers didn't give me too much trouble. For this gym, I decided to put Dig for first time over Incinerate. This was also a tragic moment when I realized Coalossal cannot learn Sunny Day. Before I get into the Gordy fight, I do want to show off this bullshit Crustle fight though. Oh my god. Damn, okay. Wow, okay, I got flinched, bruh. Can't believe I'm being outsped by a Crustle. Maybe over Thanksgiving break I'll play a couple games just to get enough to get this skin. Oh, really? The double flinch? Really? What the hell? Ow. Like, is it like a toxic subset or something? Oh, nice dodge. Oh, Sash Sludge Bomb. Thanks! Okay, but running a Sludge Bomb set for just one Pokemon is a little troll. Because then it still forces your Diglett to be completely useless against the other team if you're running a kind of... Yeah. Yep. Dude! Let me fucking attack! Dude, that's like 4 to 5 fucking times I've been flinched by Rock Slide. I literally just want to move. Haven't played rank? Yeah, rank is cancer. Dude, what the fuck is this bullshit? He literally flinched every single fucking time. That's a 30% chance, by the way. So important to trap. Okay. I guess, yeah, Grookey is just insanely strong with the grassy terrain. And Grassy Glide, I guess, I'm assuming it has to. Oh my god, I finally got a move out. Holy shit, man. I swear to god, the amount of times I got flinched by this thing. So funny enough, Gordy took me multiple tries to beat because his lead is a Barbarical. I thought I'd be fine as long as I live a move and burn it, but it goes for Shell Smash turn 1 to cancel out the burn damage nerf. However, the neutral attack, Razor Shell, just one-shots me from full health. On the second attempt, I got to +4 defenses before the Barbarical landed a Razor Shell, so I thought it was all going well. And then it crits. Next attempt time. So this time I spent a lot of time just spamming heals and X defense, trying to get a flame body burn as it kept lowering my defenses. After countless heals, I finally get a flame body burn as I just run out of X defense. Luckily, I had enough boost to beat the Barbarical with Dig and made my way to the rest of his mons nice and slowly. I would like to also point out the beautiful Giga Chad shiny Coalossal versus his loser Soy Jack Gigantamax Coalossal that Gordy owns. Clearly, mine was just so much better as we beat Gordy at 6 hours 29 minutes and 58 seconds. And we also got the Rock Tomb TM, which was nice. I would also like to mention, I don't think I talked about this at the start of the video, but I purposely chose non-Gigantamax Coalossal because Gigantamax Pokemon have their own signature, I guess, Gigantamax move, and Coalossal's basically sets up, I think, Stealth Rocks, and that's not something we want, since when we use a Rock type move, we want to be setting up Sand to boost our special defense, which is why I decided not to choose Gigantamax form. Now, after Gordy, we do refight Hop again, and this time he's more annoying than ever with the new Pinkerton to deal big damage with Bubble Beam, but luckily it did just under half. This did end up being another super long fight though, due to him healing up his double that took forever to kill. A cool thing about this fight is it gets us to level 45, getting us our best move, Heat Crash. Since we are about to fight Pierce soon, I will need a second Pokemon so I can do those double battles. So everyone, welcome Chair, because our Queen Coalossal needs a throne. After enjoying Marnie's absolute banging theme, it's time to take on Piers. So this is going to be an insanely slow fight due to Scrafty intimidating us right off the bat. When Obstagoon came out, I kept trying to bait out Obstruct so that I could attack the turn right after, but the AI in this is so cringe that it would never go for Obstruct unless I attacked. I also forgot that Rock Tomb was not a contact move and was a safe option, but regardless, I fell for his trap and got my defense sharply lowered. With some carefulness, we slowly took it down, and all that came after was just a Malamar, which was no issue after a burn. Skuntank was slightly scary since it kept poisoning me with Toxic and also revealed Screech. However, Sucker Punch is its only physical move, so with some carefulness as well, Piers was down at 7 hours, 37 minutes, and 38 seconds. So with Piers down, that meant it was immediately time for Raihan. But before we get to Raihan, we had to take on his gym challenge, and the first one is a rain weather themed double battle, which means we are in trouble. The only way to win this was to live one attack, not get hit by the other, and to get my sand up. Funny enough, that did happen this first turn, other than the fact I didn't get a chance to put on Sandstorm before the fight on, so I went straight down and out. Attempt 2, I got my sand up so I could take attacks much better. Water Pulse went from doing almost all my health to dealing like 20% and even less. The rest of the gym challenge was not an issue either, other than the fact Chair got shot down by Ninetales, and you do need 2 Pokemon for each fight. But with that, it's time for the hardest gym leader to do in solo runs. Raihan makes solo runs so much harder with the double battle, and since I can only use 1 Pokemon, it meant that it was practically a 1v2. Raihan leads off with Flygon and Gigalith, and funny enough, Gigalith is more threatening in this fight due to Flygon not actually having any ground moves and only spamming Break and Swipe. The main problem of Raihan's fight is actually Sandaconda with Earth Power, because that meant I couldn't just burn it. I also slapped on Dig before this fight because it felt really useful for Duraludon over Flame Charge. So right off the bat, I get a burn off on Flygon and Gigalith. Chair also had some random passive taunt as the Gigalith and Flygon were both targeting it. This is the moment where Chair becomes an insane partner, an attendant, a guardian, a protector, and a mentor to Queen Coalossal. With Gigalith down, it meant Sandaconda will come in now. It wasn't able to one-shot me, but each shot was just chunking me straight down. Chair also took 2 more hits when I used Dig, so rip Chair. By getting hit on Sandaconda, I was able to get the Sand Boost, which allowed me to take hits from Sandaconda way better. However, regardless of each turn, they were doing way too much damage to the point I wasn't able to get my attacks in. I couldn't stall out the Earth Power forever since the sand was so limited, so I thought it was better to just let myself fall and not waste any more time, so attempt 2 it was. This time, I just slapped a bunch of X defense and X special defense, so just so no one can deal damage to me. Here had an early death this time after I missed Will-O-Wisp, so that kinda sucked. However, after a couple of turns of making myself nice and beefier, I finally slowly took down the Gigalith. Flygon dropped burn damage, so it was finally time for Gigantamax or Ludon to come out. However, this towering skyscraper could not do anything to my tank anyway. The battle went on for so long that the Sandaconda used all of its earth power, so after 10,000 years, I slowly took down everything with helpful burn damage. And with that, we beat the final gym leader at 8 hours, 42 minutes, and 36 seconds. This honestly made me really happy that this tricky gym leader only took 2 attempts. With all the gyms down, it was now time to make our way to Winden, so we had to go through the victory road of this game, and we actually died to a random Flygon's unfortunate earthquake. But regardless, we still found a way to Winden as our next challenge awaits. After making it to Winden, it was time to fight our rivals, the first being Marnie, who torments us right off the bat. However, I don't care about torments, and all that matters is the banger theme song in the background. Marnie, just like all the previous fights, was not an issue whatsoever, and there's not anything too different about this fight compared to the previous ones. We burn her fighting types and tank everything else. At this point, I've also learned the move Rock Blast, which funny enough is the best rock move I can get by leveling up. The craziest part about Rock Blast is that it has 130 base power in Dynamax form, which allowed me to just one-shot G-Max Grimmsnarl with a high roll in addition to Sand. Our next opponent was Hop, who leads up with the double that brings a reversal this time. Still, just like all the previous times, it does 0 damage, just like how we do 0 damage back. Hop also does also have a high horsepower Snorlax, but with an easy burn, it just does 0 damage as well. This time, with Pinkerton doesn't even have a water move, so it's not a threat. And everything else was just the same old easy victory. After Hop, we do the funny Rose Tower side quest, and the main typing of the trainers being Steel, we breeze through this. However, we come across a boss fight that's actually pretty challenging, being Olino. The reason this is so hard for Coalossal is because her Melodic and the fact that Garbodor has Stomping Tantrum. So going into this, I knew it was going to be pretty much impossible to beat the Melodic, at least not without Dynamaxing. Even though I would be sacrificing my Dynamax early on and would not be able to use it on her Garbodor, I knew I had to do it if I wanted to try winning for the first time. By Dynamaxing my HP increases, which allows me to tank a Surf and allows me to get Sand up. So after another Dynamaxed Rock Blast, I was able to take down my Melodic. The Tsarina does lower my attack with Drop Kick, which was pretty annoying, but regardless, it was time to test our bulk against a G-Max Garbodor. Crazy enough, we were able to tank a hit, so with some heal selling, we were able to lift through the Gigantamax phase. Funny enough, she went for a Rock move turn 2 anyway. But we managed to live through this, which meant we were able to just beat the Garbodor in a 1v1, making it somehow unwinnable fight into a victory that felt insanely good. After beating Olina and witnessing Rose's weird motives, we make our way back to fight Bede. This fight was insanely easy though, because no one on his team had the firepower to break through my sturdiness. I was able to beat the Gardevoir and Hatterene before they could set up or deal high damage. Bede down, is now time for the actual Champion Cup, where we had to face the most challenging gym leaders of the game. I made a goof here thinking I was about to walk into a cutscene with Rose, but nope, we went straight into the fight against Nessa. I was glad she let up with Golisopod because it's a physical attacker that can easily be burned and switched out whenever I start setting up. However, since the first attempt, I'm not allowed to use X items, I ended up not having a way to get rid of the defense debuffs on me. I did end up just giving up because I realized I was just delaying the inevitable. However, this attempt did help me realize that I could easily win with X items, so going back, it was time to fight again. So first things first, I just spammed X defense until Golisopod's damage was reduced to nothing. However, I got unlucky and crit, so welp on to attempt 3. The third time was the charm though, as I didn't get crit this time. After getting both defenses to the max, I was able to take out the Golisopod and Barraskewda that followed. Conveniently enough, Nessa only has a Pelipper as her only special attacker, and everything else is a physical attacker, therefore could be burned. Sea King comes in right after to prove once again how garbage of a Pokemon it is. Pelipper came right after. The scary part wasn't even damage, but rather the rain. Logically, the smart thing would be to try and stall out the rain, but I ended up landing 4 Rock Blasts to one-shot it, but it still wasn't a bad thing because letting Pelipper stay in would be risk and crit. G-Max Dreadnought came out right afterwards. The G-Max move did deal a huge chunk of damage, so I decided to use a fire move to get the sand up, so that once Dynamax was over, I could be safe for a while. So with both Dynamaxes down, it was just a showdown of rock types, and somehow I was 6 levels higher. So I got to destroy the little turtle, who was dealing 24 damage despite using 4 times super effective moves. And with that, Nessa was down, it was time for Bayo. I went to this fight expecting to lose again. She leads off with Hawlucha, which just steals under half my health, and with the burn on it afterwards, it makes this no longer a problem. Luckily, that she only has physical Pokemon, I can just burn them all except Machamp. I ended up killing the Hawlucha with 5 Rock Blasts when I was trying to get myself a turn to heal. This meant I had to heal on the turn. Her Phalanx went for no retreat. This thing was scary since I couldn't use X items. This thing also uses Bulk Up right after for some reason, which did allow me to get an easy burn. Luckily, close combat did deal under half my health at neutral attack. Taking the risk, I go for a Heat Crash right after and hope it didn't crit. We do win those, so one of her biggest threats were down, followed by another insanely scary threat, Graplock. Graplock has a move called Octolock that lowers my defense every turn I'm on the field. This means if I'm not able to kill it quick enough after it uses it, then I pretty much have to give up on winning this fight. Luckily, it only used it on the turn I killed it, so none of my stats were lowered. Surfetch was 9 issue once again, however this is where I bring out the most Giga Brain strategy of all time. I noticed it was going to die to burn, so I used Dig on the turn it died to burn, so the Gigantamax Machamp would waste turn 1 of its Gigantamax. This will allow me to max guard on the second turn and only give it 1 turn of attack. You might ask how this is any different from Dynamax on the same turn, but this strategy gives me a turn of Dynamax when the Machamp is in Gigantamax. This means I get to deal with an insanely powerful Sun boosted move on Machamp without the health boost. Regardless, even Machamp was Gigantamax, I had enough to kill, and I got lucky it didn't crit me with the Focus Energy boosted Cross Chop. So with that, I somehow beat Bea first try without any X items. And with Bea down, it's time for our next challenge being Raihan. And Raihan is insanely scary this time as well due to his Surf, Goodra, and Earthquake Flygon. He leads off first with the Torkoal that cannot do anything to me, but I was trying to make sure that I don't get yawned right before killing. Flygon came out right after, but luckily I beat Torkoal while I was still really healthy, therefore I was able to live in Earthquake and get the Will-O-Wisp off. And with that, I could just heal style and hope for no crits. What's crazy is that Flygon sets up the sand for me before I kill it, which is super helpful for the Goodra that came right after. The Goodra then reveals that Muddy Water and Surf do less than half with the sand boost. I decided during the fight that I needed Dynamax if I wanted to beat the Goodra because I would get a health boost along with the sand to give me the chance to attack back with Max Quake and boost my special defense. So I was able to take down the Goodra and Turtonator came out as their Dynamax runs out, but the big turtle cannot do much to us. I used the Ether I was saving up all game because I needed more digs. I was able to get into the Duraludon at full health, which allowed me to tank more hits. I went for the burn turn 1 as it increases its attack, and then dig turn 2 so it wouldn't be able to get 3 hits on me in Gigantamax form. And with those big bring strats, we have beaten Raihan in a Champion Cup. Before we get to fight Leon, Champion Rose gets in our way with this all-steel team. This in theory should be an easy fight since I have the type advantage and can easily destroy most of his team. However, I ran into a huge problem, his Berserker. It outsped me and used Screech, cutting my defenses in half. This meant that G-Max Copperajah could easily one-shot me with Max Quake, which essentially was 8 times the original damage. I also went into the fight at around 55% health, so there was just no chance at that point. So this somehow was the first time Berserker gave me trouble. Anyways, attempt 2 with X items. I just slapped on 2 X defense to boost myself up to time plus 4 defense. This time the Berserker didn't even get a chance to Screech, which gave me a lot more bulk to deal with Copperajah scoring an easy win on try number 2. Beating Rose means that we have to face against Eternatus right before he gets into Max form. Funny enough, in previous solo runs I've struggled against Eternatus, but not Coalossal. We are much bulkier and can easily deal with it. Terramax was just an easy battle without much issue, so after working together with Useless Hop and Big Doggies, we slayed a demon and saved the world. With all the problems out of the way, there's only one obstacle left for this run, Champion Leon. He starts off with an Aegis Slash, and I predicted it would go for a King Shield, turn 1 like an idiot. So we got a free Will-O-Wisp on and Heat Crash turn 2. He brings out Haxorus next with an Earthquake, and sadly I was not able to tank one to get a burn, so we had to try again with X items. This time I first boosted my special defense to deal with Aegislash better, and then my defense so that Haxorus can no longer deal so much damage. This time Haxorus cannot break through our defenses, and we were able to cripple him. However, he then brought out Rhyperior, which could also deal crazy damage with Earthquake. However, another huge problem was that I could not use Dig on it, therefore my only attacks was Rock Blast and Heat Crash. So I just had to wait for the burn damage along with my weak attacks to slowly chip it down. However, just when I was about to kill it, Leon fully healed it up and I had to go through this painful chipping process all over again. This matchup went on for so long that the Rhyperior ran out of Earthquakes. After 20 years, it was finally down and we weren't even done yet. We still had to kill his Rillaboom and Dragapult were not huge issues, so with that, it was on to his ace Pokemon Gigantamax Charizard, which was also pretty, well, what was also pretty funny was that after beating Rillaboom, I leveled up and learned Burn Up, just when there was no need for it. The last two Pokemon all resisted fire, and I had no reason to get rid of my fire typing. But to no one's surprise, Gigantamax Charizard does absolutely nothing to our big, beautiful Dynamax Lauren, and with that huge Stony Slate, we absolutely smash Leon's Charizard, scoring us a win at a time of 12 hours, 35 minutes, and 12 seconds. This means we beat the Dracozolt time by a whopping 33 minutes and 45 seconds, which is crazy considering we were behind at the start. This run felt super slow due to a lot of fights taking a while from Coalossal's weak offensive powers. However, the fact that I was able to strategize well enough to win fights, I was able to get that time back. So you might remember me mentioning something at the start of the video, and it's actually that I wanted to decide my next solo run Pokemon a little differently this time. I'm gonna have two choices here for deciding, and that's either picking a Pokemon that someone comments on under this YouTube video's comment section, or randomizing 3 Pokemon and having everyone vote for it on a poll on Twitter. Now, I'm not too sure which one I want to do for sure right now, but I can always consider doing the YouTube comment suggestions after the randomized one. So you may also be wondering whether you can know the randomized mods, and I actually did randomize them at the end of the stream. So introducing your choices of voting. First up, it's Volcarona. Big and mighty, with powerful moves and good base stats, we have a powerhouse. However, looks may be deceiving, as Volcarona has many issues. It has the slowest EXP growth in the game, which means we have to fight every single trainer unless we want to be under-leveled. The other problem is that depending on the game, whether we get good moves will all depend on the level 5 moveset. Gen 5 Volcarona's starting moveset is absolute garbage, while in Gen 6 and 7, Volcarona has a lot of good egg moves that can have at level 1. I only mention this because Volcarona has some of the worst level up movesets possible. It gets a new move every multiple of 10 levels. For example, Gen 5 through 7 it learns move at 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. And most of them are all garbage moves until level 15 onwards where they start to become somewhat useful. This means we would have to rely on TMs, which could be doable, but still annoying. I would also like to mention beforehand that the next solo run would not be Sword and Shield because I do not want to do back-to-back solo runs of the same game. Legends Arceus and Scarlet Violet also not possible due to it not being optimized for Yuzu. Therefore, the options for a Volcarona solo run are Black and White 2, X and Y, Oraz, Sun and Moon, and Ultra Sun and Moon, and possibly BDSP if I can figure out the mods. But anyway, the second option is to vote for Spearow. Now this Pokemon is absolute trash and is one of the most forgettable Pokemon that is just there for fodder in the early game, overshadowed by Pidgey. It has meager base stats and a pretty mid learn pool, but it does have a fast EXP gain, so most likely we'd be able to easily over level. Overall, this would be a very challenging Pokemon to solo run with. Since Spearow is a Gen 1 Pokemon, it actually means we have a lot of options for games to solo run with. And finally, the last Pokemon we have is Alolan Meowth, specifically Alolan. So this Pokemon is similar to Spearow in how it has really low base stats and a fast EXP growth. However, Alolan Meowth does have Technician and somewhat decent moves to go along with it. It would still be a challenge, but it doesn't seem like a hopeless challenge. However, since it is a low amount and not regular, it means our options for solo runs are much more limited. We have Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, and then there's Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, which is kinda strange to play for a solo run due to them forcing you to catch Pokemon to proceed. And then there's BDSP, if I can figure out the mods for that. But anyway, this poll will go up on Twitter for a week once this video is released. So if you are seeing this in time, go check the description of this video to find the tweet and please vote on it. If you also want to suggest your own Pokemon you want to see a solo run, please feel free to comment as well. Now that's all I got for this video. Hope you all enjoyed seeing the Coalossal Solo Run. And if you want to watch me do solo runs live, and check out my Twitch channel and join my Discord as well to join my community, which is also in the description, and we'll see you next time.